Hey guys, what's up? We're going to be talking about a really new Netflix film called Concrete Cowboy, starring Idris Elba, and I'm not sure who the child actor's name, even though I would say he'd be the lead actor. And this was a really interesting film in that there were flaws in terms of its structure as a film, but in its representation of a subset of a culture, it was like fascinating. I literally could not keep my eyes off of it. It's one of those things where you just can't even make it up. It had to be real, which I know it is. I don't think the whole story is true, but like just that culture is real. And as if you saw from the end, a lot of those actors were real life quote unquote writers. I really like how the film started. So I think it was really great because they didn't showcase all of the things leading up to it, which I usually do like some sort of showing some weight in the background of like why these things happen. But I felt it really effectively. Like I understood why he was falling apart in school. I could kind of understand where it was coming from. And that was a lot of it was due to the mom's performance. So she really held the beginning together. It's one of those things where you don't realize how important your character's value. And if there's such a small character, you don't know how important that character is until like the movie's made. Like I still remember one of my most memorable is "You're drowning here." Just the way she said that. It's a good line. It was very well written. But that the way she utilized that line to just convey that message, the moment she said that, I understood what was happening and kind of like her desperation. If she couldn't sell that desperation, the movie would have actually started off very weak because it would have just been a mom like giving up on her son. So I was on board with what the mom was trying to do. I understood where she was coming from. You have kind of like him dumped on the doorstep of the father, and the moment that happened, I really liked the way not even cinematography, the way that they set up the scenery, and I guess the cinematography, but like the lack thereof, it felt very grounded. It felt very like almost not like found footage at all, but like it felt very grounded in that it was just a kid with some trash bags filled with clothes, like on the street. You know, like you just had a scene where it's just a kid in the middle of the night with two trash bags on the street, scared. And it's just like, that was just so good. That was so effective at what it needed to convey. Once it got into him going to his dad's place, and there's like a horse in the room, and like, I think it was just such a huge culture shock of like, okay, so this is going to be a film that I don't understand at all. I can't relate to it at all. It was one of those films. A film that you can't relate to, but you're supposed to appreciate and find fascinating, which I did. However, the part that I thought was a little... that I was struggling with is got lost really fast as to like those questions of like, okay, so how do they live here? How are horses allowed here? What do they do? Do they move crap from one thing to another and that's their job? How is that a job? I was asking myself all those questions. And I don't know if you guys were, but I was. And I was distracting myself. And I started to distance myself from the film because I was in my own thoughts. And I don't think it's on the audience to try to figure things out. I think you should be able to notice it pretty easily. And even if I missed the line where it explained it, you should be able to see it in the film. It shouldn't be about like, oh, a line. If I sneeze during that line, do I not understand the rest of the film? And that's the test I always tell people. I was like, if a one line that's not a climax is crucial to you understanding the rest of the film, that's not well made then. So that was my biggest struggle with trying to understand that, as I was trying to understand their culture, or at least appreciate it. The showcasing of the culture was just really, really effective. Because there were scenes where it's just like the boy and the horse in the apartment. There's scenes where they're just sitting around at night smoking weed. Like I actually really like how casually they brought that into the culture aspect of it. Like they almost, I think Idris Elba's character almost always had a joint. So it's just like these like people who are like enjoying life, but like know how kind of shitty they got it. It's weird. They like appreciate how grounded they are in their heritage, but then they know that like, you know, they had those conversations about like how things do kind of suck. The part that I actually really enjoyed is during the things like where they'd be around like a fire or whatever, just be sitting around, not around a fire, sitting around and there's light and it was dark out and the kid was with them. The way they were talking, that was the part that, let me see if you guys relate to this. But when I was a kid and I had like older cousins or like the older parents, and you just wanted to sit around and like be one of them, but like they're talking about things you just don't understand and you think it's cool, but you don't get it. And you almost are a little uncomfortable by it because it's like too cool and you're not there yet. That's what I felt. And like it just hit me so hard. And I'm not saying you have to relate to something to enjoy it. I loved that aspect of the film because he was just sitting there and you could tell he was like, didn't know what to do and was socially unaware of how to handle it because what kid does. But he wanted to be a part of the group. I just love that. And that translated actually with him and his friendship. Smush, I believe is what his name. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize. I'm pretty sure it was Smush. So, the friend, who he unexpectedly was such a great character, but I love this blend of like street culture that just came in. And like that was also, it was in a very similar thing. If you talk about like the cowboy culture that he also felt uncomfortable by with these older people, he also felt uncomfortable with the street culture that his friend was so confidently showcasing. Like he just didn't know what to say. He was often just like dumbfounded at what to say and like wanted to be cool, but he wasn't there, and that's not who he was as a person. Wanted to be quote unquote cool, and like so he just like was going along with the crowd, and like when he would take him to parties, he would enjoy himself because yeah, he's a kid, and there's girls around, and there's partying, and there's drinking, and there's just like fun going around, and he just like wants to be cool, and it's a little bit older fun, and like so I just like that part just felt so relatable. That whole thing on both sides was so good. And I really appreciated how much I was able to like relate to that, which was so important in a film where I didn't relate to like anything else. You relating to the fact that it's still a coming of age story. Coming of age stories are universal. It's why they use them so often. I don't even know if that was a true story. I know that this is a true story in terms of like these people exist, but I don't think that's a true story. I'm not sure yet. I don't think so though. But I like that they did that. It kept me grounded in like the film while I was appreciating the culture. As opposed to films that are just like about appreciating culture, that feels more like a documentary, which is a little harder for me to like go through. This one I like was engaged in the film. The parts that were little like kind of lackluster is like, again, it's a coming of age story. It was a bit cliched at times, like the friend. You could tell he was just like, and it's real, but like it's just been done so many times where it's like the kid who like, you know, is like angry at everything and like just wants to get his own part and like is doing stupid stuff like cutting off the top of his like very scary partner or boss, whatever. You know, like cool. We've seen that a lot of times in many films. I'm not even gonna list all the films, but you've seen that in so many films. And like cool. So he's being dumb. So I didn't enjoy that. However, when they started explaining that he was a cowboy and a damn good one, which caught me so off guard, and that he was doing this so that he could not just get out of here. I hate the like, let's get out of here thing. I like a plan. Like, why don't you just go to school? And like, you know, like I always enjoyed like if there's a plan. And he just had a really cool one going out, I think going out west, and like getting really cheap ranches and like, and then it even went more intricate, flipping them, which is a thing. And then once you flip them, you get even more money. And then once you have enough capital to get a ranch that you want to settle down in. That was like the best part of the film, in my opinion. Just because I was like, wow, you made a character not stupid. I love it when characters are not stupid. Like just cutting off the top for no reason, I can get because you're pushed into boundaries. You're just a kid, you know, like I get it. But this one was like being smart about it. And like I understood why he needed to do this so he could raise capital quick enough so he could start doing this stuff. He still didn't need to do it, but like he wouldn't have made enough money just doing it the way he did. But okay. So I loved that. I loved also not kind of cliche, which when they escape from the cops, which I get, okay, let's actually talk about before they escape from cops. So he gets jumped in one of the deals. Cool. That should have been it. The fact that the cops were there didn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm sorry, a cop is never there. Like, that means that the cop knew about the, like, deal that was going on. And then they probably would have been doing more about it. I don't know. It just seemed like like, the guy got jumped in, like, 5 seconds, and then the cops are there. And, like, I get it why they needed, like, the kid to live a little longer. Didn't make a lot of sense to me. So then you got to have this scene that you, like, never get to have of, like, him escaping and, like, the kid being so damn terrified that he almost died that he can't process it. So he just starts getting angry at the world and angry. And he's like, we're going to get ours. That was so good. That was so strong. I don't know if everybody realized how strong that scene was because after when Cole leaves, then he's just like terrified because and almost nauseous because he almost just died. They would have just killed him. He was dead, so that was insane. And I also like that it wasn't that cliched in that he asks, like, are you with me? And he doesn't even say no or yes. Normally you'd say yes there. He just, like, walks away. He's just like, dude, this is too much for me. I need my horse right now. Like, that was good. So I love that. Got cliched where that wasn't a wake-up call enough, which doesn't make any sense. It wasn't a wake-up call enough for him to do it, so he just keeps doing it. The fact that Cole's still following him was ridiculous. That should have been the last time he saw him, and then he dies, he gets killed. Cool. Like, that was, like, really cliche. I like Idris Elba. I liked his acting a lot. I liked his performance. I liked the ensemble cast performances, even the non-actors I really enjoyed. I wouldn't have known that they weren't actors because they were just representing their culture. That's what's good about getting non-actors that know their thing. They tend to be a little bit better because they don't have to act. They can just be them. But I was even just impressed with their line delivery. So everybody was great. Ness, Cole's father, Cole, friend, all of them were really good. And I just thought it was interesting because, like, I didn't really get Cole's father. I didn't really understand him, which I guess was a good thing. I like that he wasn't, like, the hero father that is, like, trying to, help his son. He just doesn't know how to be a dad. I love that. He just doesn't know how to be a dad, and the best thing he can offer him is writing. And that's, like, very poetic. The father was never right. He wasn't a good father. Cole was correct in a lot of the things he was saying. He's like, you treat them more like your kids than you do me. You treat the horses better than you treat me. Yeah, you do. I'm sorry, you were kind of just a jerk to him really early. And, like, I get it because his father was probably hard on him. But, like, that wasn't good parenting. And I hope you don't think it was. Please don't take something like tough love is good. Yeah, tough love can, like, wake you up out of a lot of things. But that wasn't even tough love. That was just, like, he didn't know how to be a parent. This is the best thing he could offer him. And in the ballpark, the best thing he can do to him is like, oh, is this a lesson? And he's like, this isn't about you. Just get your horse. Like, this is, like, the best I can give you. This is, like, about you and your horse. And that you getting that horse will teach you more than I ever could as your father. And, like, that was just very powerful. And he didn't say that, which I don't think you have to say. You just knew it. I like that there was a girl involved, but it wasn't, like, everything. It is nice. A lot of times, like, finding a partner in any way, shape, or form, or finding romance can ground you out of your stupid anger. That was cool. That is very relatable. It was interesting because the way they used horses, a lot of times when they have these animals that, like, help you become a better person, they've done that a lot too, and there are a lot of great films with that. Because he didn't really have much. And there's something about unconditional respect from an animal that can be everything you need. Like, it felt very earned when they take away the horses and he's, like, upset about his horse. I love that whole scene, by the way. That was one of the better scenes. Yeah, you probably would get reported, and they probably would come and take your horses away. I was like, that didn't feel Hollywood movie at all. I was like, yeah, people report these kind of things all the time. They probably would come and take away your stuff. I really like that. And then the kid comes and just, like, he's losing the only thing that keeps him grounded and the only thing that, like, showed him mutual respect. So he's, like, losing his shit. But these older people are like, dude, we've been here forever. This means more to us than it does to you. And we can be empathetic, and I like that you care so much, but like step back and let us try to solve this. Something else that was kind of cliche was like the heist scene though. They even have like heist thriller music where they're trying to get the horses out. That didn't need to be a heist type of ordeal. It felt really weird. It took me out of the tone of the rest of the film. I didn't buy it. I couldn't waive the disbelief that they would like get away with that. But okay, that's fine. But I loved once they did get the horses, when they went to his friend's funeral. And like, that was such a good moment of bringing that culture to something that we all experience, which is like a funeral. If you've experienced a funeral, you know, and like, but they brought culture to it that I can't believe they were able to sell it. Like, okay, if you try to just explain to somebody, yeah, they come on their horses to this funeral in, you know, Philadelphia street, not in like country. They bring their horses and they put his boots on his grave, and then he stands on his horse. If you said that to somebody, they'd be like, oh, okay, so it's a comedy or some weird thing. It's like a joke. But you know they did a good job of selling the culture and selling the film, because that scene hit really hard. Writing was really good. Just like the dialogue was so strong. The only thing about the dialogue that I didn't appreciate, sometimes it was a little heavy-handed. You know, sometimes it was just like, now let's talk about how like, you know, black people are like this and they're trying to keep us down. Like that's all true. It just was a little bit on the nose as opposed to like subtle. And like some of the things had to be explained through the dialogue of like, what was like the metaphor of the horse, even though it's real and that's a real culture. What was the metaphor? And it was like breaking in the horse is like what they think of breaking in black people back in the day, which they had to say it because I wasn't getting it. And like, I don't think the audience was getting it. I wish they could have showed that without having to just explicitly say it. But since they couldn't, like, that was very powerful dialogue, that whole discussion. But again, it's heavy-handed. So it's like good writing, but like some heavy-handedness as opposed to like a level of subtlety. Really glad they got to show off something that probably like 99% of the country just doesn't know exists. So that was really cool. And to do it in a non-documentary format that I was genuinely engaged in was wonderful to take the time to watch. All right, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on the film, the plot, the pacing, the acting, all of it. Let me know in the comments section what your guys' thoughts were. If you have any recommendations for things you want me to go over, also send them in the comment section. And on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next one.